Hey everyone, this is Andre from Journal Centric, and I thank you all for stopping by. I'd like to share this journal that I finished. It's a journal that's inspired by the journal that Rachel from Roxy Creations created, her antique documents and lace journal, I think is what they're called. So this is one of my versions of it because I'd like to create some more. This is such a fun type of journal to make, and it's different from it's not a writing journal per se, but it's a awesome keepsake type of journal. So a lot of the items in here, you can see it's overflowing on all the sides, are all actual vintage or antique. The majority of the items in here are, except for like this book plate, that's a Tim Holtz, and this fabric. But the doilies are at least vintage. This is some sari silk. The journal itself measures 9 by 6, and it will be listed in my Etsy store. And because of that, it's a blank journal because I didn't put all my favorite, bits and pieces in here. I left it blank so that whoever buys it can fill it up with, their own favorite bits and pieces. And that's kind of the purpose of this journal. So the idea was to use a lot of vintage or antique pages as the base, and then fill it up with all the items that you want to basically hoard and you don't want to give away. So I did create this floating pocket here with leftover pieces. I did use a couple digis. Like I said, the majority of the pages are vintage or antique, but I did use some digis, and this trim here and one other piece are the only two pieces of fabric or trim in here that is not vintage or antique. The rest of them are. So here is a pocket that I put in the inside front cover. All the buttons are at least vintage. So this is the first book page here. I filled it up with all kinds of different trims, and like I said, the whole idea is for you to save your own pieces. So like this piece here, I don't know if I'm want to get rid of them, so that would be something I would stitch or glue, or however you want to do it. I would put it on there, and then I would save it in my journal. So as you can see, because of that, there's a lot of space here where you can save all your favorite bits and pieces. So this any of the collage pieces like this, they are a digital, and they are printed on a handmade paper, so they have a wonderful texture to them. But I'll list all the digis that I used in the description box. Like this here is a wallpaper. So here's vintage Finnish from Finland. Here's a blank coffee dye paper, and this is a beautiful trim. Again, I can't really tell which ones are vintage and which ones are antique. A lot of the time I buy them in like a mixed lot, or I go to the antique mall, and I'm assuming they're at least vintage or antique. It's hard for me to tell, but. And then a lot of the journaling cards like these I used from leftover scrap paper that I didn't want to throw away, like this ledger piece. So it's not really good for writing on since it's already filled, but this would be excellent to just put your favorite pieces that you like, on them, to store them. And I like that idea because, I'm a hoarder myself. I love to collect antiquities and things of the past, and to use them, and kind of breaks my heart a little bit. That's why I love using digitals, is because I don't have to worry about it. But I like the idea of having a place to store all your favorite pieces that you might not have used. Like this piece here, it's beautiful, beautiful eyelet. So like this postcard here, this one's one of my favorites that I have. Not only is it made in France, but this front piece here is actually a fabric piece. So I only own one of these, and I don't know if I'm ready to give it up. So this would be something I would just plop in this journal. And so when you fill it up, you have this journal full of bits and pieces that you love. So there is a lot of space for that. Probably put that one in there. So here's a little doily piece. That's authentic paper. This ledger piece here, the pages are very fragile. They're pretty brittle, but it still works as a page, and if you glue stuff on it, I'm sure it'll be okay. So here's another vintage button. The back of this here's a digi. These are pages. This here's a digi. That's a book page. Beautiful ledger page here, and all the pieces that are authentic, I didn't distress any of them. They are their own colors, natural colors. So here's another piece of card made from leftover papers. Here's the other side to the finished page, other side of the wallpaper page. I love these buttons, the buttons that are kind of metallic looking. I love this. So I have a jar full of those, so I decided, okay, I'll use one. So here's another beautiful eyelet piece. This here's a napkin that I have. I think I have a set, so I have two. So I put one of them in here, and then I sewed it on. I did a lot of sewing in here, by the way. So I sewed it on, and I made two pockets, one at the top and one at the bottom. Here's the back of that page. This is just coffee dye paper. This is looks like a French page. Now this is the other piece that is not vintage or antique. I just kind of snuck in here without realizing it. Here's a big journaling card made from leftover pieces. And this here, that I love the German font. It's one of my favorite. So that's some page from the 1800s. Here's another page, leftover Italian book page and ledger. Some blank pages, and this piece here I cut in just about in half, and I put the other piece on the last signature there, so I don't have any more. I put the whole thing in here, and this is just a floating pocket with leftover ledger and card. And I don't know why, but I put it upside down. So here's the back of this piece here. It's just decoration, and here's our wax seal. Here is more, I think, French paper. It looks like it's French. It's a blank page, another book page. Probably Italian. I'm not sure. Here's the other side to that napkin. So again, there's two little cards made from leftover paper. The back of that wallpaper, so that's the end of the second signature. So for the third signature, there's a pocket on the outside here, and look at this book page. It's all, I didn't distress that. That's how brown it is by itself. Isn't that amazing? So here's a ledger piece. More pockets on this side, and this ledger is huge, so I was able to fold it to create these pockets, and I still have leftover pieces. So this is a digi. Here's beautiful trim at the bottom. Wallpaper. Here is blank paper. Here's a tag made from ledger and just leftover handmade paper. Here's a little key. And I have like maybe 4 of these, so I used a few of them in here. And like this piece here, I don't even know what this was for. It has a weird texture to it, but I used the majority of it here. I have probably about that much left. But I like the way it looked layered on, so I just used it. And so here's another little doily with a button in there. This is a digi. So here's a side tuck with a couple pieces, so you can do whatever. Here is another vintage button. Here's the middle of the signature. And here is, I think this is Italian. It's Italian. Here's a floating pocket with another card in it. And this piece here is another piece that I used the majority in this journal. There's probably like this much left. Here's the other side of the ledger. It flips out. I did try to reinforce a lot of the very old or the fragile pieces with masking tape, at least. But I mean, when you make a journal using a lot of pages from the 1800s, not all of them are really, you know, stable. I love this. This is a layered doily. So this is one piece in the back, and then I layered this one on top, and then I put a vintage button in the center. I have a few more pieces of these, so I'll definitely use more of those. Again, this one is not vintage or antique. It just kind of snuck in here, but it's on the card. And then, oh yeah, so this flips out, and here is a big tag using leftover pieces. More, I think French paper. French. So here's another piece of these that I used. Here's a side tuck. Over here. Page back of that wallpaper digi. So here's that other piece. I think it might have belonged to like a collar piece. It was shaped kind of odd, but the whole piece is in here, so I don't have any more of this. So another floating belly band pocket with some vintage finish ephemera. Another pocket on this side, and then another pocket on the other side. And then on the inside back cover is just a pocket, and that's it. So lots of space for you to save your favorite bits and pieces. I loved making this journal. Hope you guys enjoyed the flip through, and I will see you soon with another project. Bye everyone.